Still Entertainment Extra on the Saturday Breakfast on TVC News, of course. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are going to discuss the state of cinema in Nigeria and its future. Of course, we have Moses Babatope. He is a leading figure in the Nigerian film industry, known for his pioneering work in film distribution, exhibition, and production. Babatope's journey in the movie business began in London, where he gained over a decade of experience in cinema operations, management, retail management, and human resource management from Europe's largest cinema group, Odeon UCI Limited. One of Babatope's notable achievements is his role in pioneering the distribution and exhibition of African films worldwide. He joins us now in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, he's the group CEO of Nile Entertainment Group. Yes. Thank you very much for joining us at this point. Yes.
We have a big man in our studio. I don't know why I'd call him Moses Babatope. Mr. Moses Babatope, thank you for coming to the studio.
So you left London to come to Nigeria just to do film, distribution, the value chain and all of that. Why?
Wow. First of all, good morning. It's great to be here. Fantastic studios.
Thank you very
By
much.
the way, great to you. And Happy New Year to you guys.
To you.
Left the UK to be here. Motherland calls. There is a duty to serve, and I believe that there was a space for us to add value at the time, and it's important to also put context that I came back with a set of colleagues and that had become friends then, and for us it was how could we formalize, demand and supply of filmed entertainment in the country. By bringing in cinema exhibition experience. And there was such a passion for it at the time that we're looking to come down. The dream had always been from the mid-2000s that what could we do? And thanks to pioneers like Ben Bruce, who came up with Silverbird in 2004, we saw that it was achievable, it was doable. So between 2011 and 2013, it was now really, really like we had to be on ground. And essentially that's, we just followed up with the dream. And rather than talking from afar, we thought, come down to the country and make our impact felt.
What is the big difference between the way the Nigerian cinema does business and the way it's done in the UK?
I think we brought best practices. There's nothing so different. In fact, I like to think that the way we conduct cinema business in Nigeria is as good as anywhere in the world. We release films day and date, sometimes even earlier than territories in the world. I think our film marketing has gotten better and better in a climate where advertising is not the cheapest. And I think that the experience that we give audiences is also really, really, really sound. And of course can be better. But I feel in those ways, we've done well as a territory. And if you just compare Nigeria to the rest of Africa and cinema business, even to a place like South Africa, Nigerian business in a short period of time has shown more maturity and more resilience and phenomenal growth. And I would like to say even professionalism. Nigeria is the only territory in Africa that has an association, for example, Cinema Exhibitors Association in Africa. So there's a lot of pluses. Of course, there's so much more room to grow and be better. But I would like to give it more kudos than anything else.
Talking about the successes now, what do you think has been the parameter that has led to the success of the industry?
So 2024, watershed, fantastic year that we've had. I think success of the industry has to also kind of work in tandem with the Nigerian people, the resilience of the Nigerian people. Just look at what we've gone through since the pandemic, over the last few years, the economic challenges and all of that. The entertainment industry, particularly the film industry and the cinema subsector, has been very, very, very resilient. So, like I said, challenges from school strikes, pandemic, political instability here and there, inflation, all of that, and we got the highest box office ever in 2024, 60% up on 2023. We also had an increase in admissions for the first time in 3 years, in that same year. I think a combination of the films have gotten better. We have to acknowledge that the quality of the films have gotten better. Again, of course, there's room for improvement. But if you just look at, as you've done well with cinemas We're having films that are being selected in prestigious festivals.
Yeah.
We had films selected in Toronto International Film Festival. We had films selected at the London Film Festival. So you can see that there's something that has shifted. Of course, we've also seen streamers come into the market, help propagate and help popularize, our talent and our stories. Again, last year, I think what we also had was really captivated marketing. People were really deliberate about how they wanted to position their films, And I think Nigerians have also seen the value that, okay, if there is a really good film, they are ready to leave their homes to go watch those films. And let's not forget the impact of Dirty December, particularly for the returnees. The cinema is part of a major, option for them. And that was also a crucial factor.
So there's this saying that, I know that you're part of the people who were pushing for an African Cinema Summit that happened in Ghana sometime last year.
All right.
Yeah, so we don't have enough cinemas.
Yes.
How is that affecting the industry? Because I know we have about less than 300 screens in Nigeria.
Correct.
So how is that affecting the industry?
I like it when I speak to media people that are very informed. and thank you for using the platform to spotlight a very critical topic that we're very passionate about. We've just come off a really record-setting year. We've come off a year where local titles have dominated box office, 46% to Hollywood's 54%.
True.
10 years ago, it was 95.5%. We should be talking about how do we double down on investments in cinema, in infrastructure. We should be talking about, this is a year that Nollywood has generated 5 billion at the box office. Even with the worst exchange rate values, that is still a very, very healthy number. And so you are right and you are spot on. One of the things we want to do is to say, look at what has been generated in our local market with the amount of infrastructure we have. What if we had more of an living environment? What if we had more incentives? What if we had more inclusivity? So can we have different models of cinema? What kind of numbers will we be generating? With about 306 screens, I think, we're generating 11.58 billion in box office ticket sales. What if it was double? What if it was triple? What if we did the China model where we were aggressive at it because there were incentives for it? It could easily be triple or quadruple. Then if you add the fact that people are selling popcorn and drinks and the effect on, that value chain of people supplying and then people advertising, it's last year, a 20 billion plus industry. And so, the answer to your question, and hopefully people are listening and really thinking about this very well. And I know there was spotlight a lot on what Dirty December meant. We need to be looking into a sector that's been proven, now over 2 decades, that it's here to stay. It can compete. It can also complement and work with streaming, for example, that people have been concerned about, that people will watch local content as they will watch Hollywood content, and now is the time to invest.
Okay, so I want to play the devil's advocate here.
Yes, please do.
Sometime 2 weeks ago, Femi Branch came out and accused some cinemas of promoting one person's film over the other as a former co-founder of a cinema brand in Nigeria.
Before we get to that question, I'd like the directors to play the video for a lot of people who do not know about this story.
Okay,
so let's play that video of Femi Branch, then we can come back to react to it.
Okay, great.
This is the perfect day for us to strike.
I want to quickly talk about this. I wanted to talk about this ever since I went to the cinemas to do meet and greet for Tony Abraham on our film Alakada Barambuji. I wanted to talk about this, but I've been having that reservation because I don't see anybody talking about it in the industry. I know that people know what is going on. I'm talking about cinemas promoting one film above the other. It is so bad that some cinema staff wear the t-shirt of one film. They remove the cards, the media cards of some film. They remove it from the counter and put some others there. In some cinemas will be telling people this is the best film to watch. This is the film that is burning. This is Kinekon. In some cinemas remove change somebody else's time for another person. As in, that okay, by so and so time you are supposed to watch this film. They've already published that. Now you go there and you now see them now telling no that they're not putting that one. You ask them why, they say, no, don't worry. This film is better. Go and watch this one. This is the film that is hot. That is not the business of the cinema to tell anybody what film to watch or what. That is why we've been having a lot of problems at the cinemas recently, especially this December. We've heard of different fights at different cinemas where some fans fought the cinema staff, where so many troubles all over the place. For what now? This industry is always under bondage of somebody or something.
Okay, so that video is about 5 minutes long, so we had to cut it short into a minute or so. So please react to that.
Okay, so first of all, big shout out to Femi Branch and all the actors that go out to support, and they've been very important to the cinema going culture. And Femi has had a great year.
Yeah.
Farmer's Bride, Wife on Strike,
House of
Basharunga, and so I very much understand the passion that goes into this. But there's some certain facts that we can also not ignore. The fact that when you release films in cinemas, there will be always top films. There will always be films that outperform other films. And the tendency to position the top film, particularly a film that is doing well by a mile, I think it's natural that happens. Of course, the human tendency to then maybe manipulate or would I say exploit the situation would always be there. But I would think it's skirmishes. I don't think it's widespread as being put. I think that people can be sensationalized, and like I said, people can be sensitive, and it's okay. We're talking at a period where emotions are high. We're talking at a period cinema tickets are not cheap, right? And it's also not cheap to make films, not also cheap to market films. And so you are in a very competitive arena, and you want your film to stand out. So typically you will get some of this feedback. As an association, I don't know if you know, I'm secretary of the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria. We got this feedback, and in the last few days we've put out a statement on better practices around the box office.
Reducing meet and greets across the counter.
Yes, just to the tendency for it to be exploited negatively. Are things that we're dealing with. And so it's good that we know of these things. But I wanted to just tamper it down, that it's not as said. The point about promoting films above others, it depends on the cinemas that you go to. Yeah. Cinemas also take turns, on a day it will be one film, on another day another film in terms of merchandising. On some days it might be people working, for example, on ushering to get them into screens will wear one. People serving popcorn and drinks would wear one. Okay. So there are systems and processes that people adopt on this. As to taking a poster down and taking those down, I think those tend to be exaggerated, to be honest. Like I said, there will be skirmishes where there might be exploitation or manipulation going on, but it's not wide practice, for sure. It's not that. And let's also remember, this is, we talk about a film being promoted the other without mentioning any films. Over the last 4 years, one film or one filmmaker has actually really dominated, that period. So suddenly, why are we, suddenly kind of like putting so much emphasis on this one? Everybody forgets that filmmaker suffered one of the hugest degree of piracy. Yes. And nobody was weeping or talking about how much was lost in piracy. So I try to be a little balanced about everything. And more than anything, thank Femi for spotlighting perhaps something that we could have overlooked.
In the later part of the video, he spoke about filmmakers and, like you said, best practices. And so, what would you advise filmmakers to do as regards to this situation and maybe promoting their content in regards to cinemas?
So first of all, I would continue to celebrate filmmakers that prioritize cinema going, prioritize cinemas. There are the reasons why we have kept cinemas. A big shout out to Funke Akinade particularly. And I go back to December 2020 when it was very easy for her to go streaming. Yeah. She decided to come up with Omo Ghetto, literally, where we had, if you remember, policy about not exceeding 50% of the screens. And I remember getting a phone call from her and saying, Mr. Moses, I don't think we should do this. And I was like, look, we need to go ahead. Let's push it. Let's push for it. That went on to be the highest grossing film, even in the pandemic era. True. People like her and several others, Tony Abraham, AY, Mercy Aigbe, Odunlade Adekola, Femi, all these guys, amazing guys that have decided to really keep cinema going. I think that, look, passion shouldn't stop. I think that we should continue to invest in our stories, invest in taking films to the cinema. Of course, we as cinema business practitioners also need to guide on what is acceptable within our premises. And those things will continue to happen. Distributors also have a role to play, particularly because they are the interface between the exhibitor and filmmakers. So, and I think everything we're seeing is symptomatic of a growing industry. The fact that we're discussing it is a great thing. And I think we take the learnings and just be better. That's how I say it.
I think you've done justice to this discussion here.
Thank you very much.
Moses Babatope, for coming to us, of course. Yes, Nile Media Group, Entertainment Group rather, is doing big things, and of course you are still doing local cinemas, which we discussed sometime last year at an event in Lagos.
And I mean, he's establishing a luxury cinema.
We are.
More Abudu.
Yes,
that's exciting, right?
And hopefully we'll come to TVC to speak about
Definitely.
it.
Definitely. We're all open.
We're here for you.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you so much for discussing this with us, of course. And I hope that these discussions will go a long way to bettering the industry. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, my name is Theophilus.
And
the
I
bank
am
here.
Odunui
is my co-host. Of course, I have joined TikTok for all those TikTok people. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Up next is sports.